The night was quiet over the small fishing village. Taeho sat in his boat, watching his fishing lines in the dark water. The moon was bright above him. He liked these peaceful nights. They were very different from his old life. 5 years ago, Taeho was a soldier. He was part of a special team that did dangerous missions. He saw many bad things. He did many hard things. When he left the military, he came back to his family's village. Now he was just a fisherman. It was simple. It was quiet. It was exactly what he needed. The stars looked beautiful tonight. Taeho smiled and pulled his jacket tighter against the cold wind. He checked his watch. It was almost midnight. Soon he would pull up his nets and go home. Then something strange happened. The stars above him started to disappear. Not all of them. Just a large patch of sky went dark, like something big was blocking them. Taeho stood up in his boat. His old training kicked in immediately. His muscles tensed. His eyes scanned the darkness above. A bright blue light suddenly surrounded him. Taeho tried to move, but his body would not respond. He felt himself lifting up from the boat. The fishing village below him got smaller and smaller. Then everything went black. When Taeho woke up, he was lying on a hard floor. The room was white and very clean. Strange lights glowed in the ceiling. He sat up slowly, checking his body for injuries. Nothing hurt. That was good. He looked around carefully. The room was small, maybe 3 meters by 3 meters. The walls looked like smooth metal, but they hummed with a soft sound. One wall had a shimmer to it, like heat waves on a summer road. Taeho guessed it was some kind of door or barrier. He stood up and walked to the shimmering wall. When he got close, a small shock pushed him back. It was not painful, but it was clear. This was an energy barrier. He was in a cell. Taeho did not panic. Panic was useless. Instead, he started to think like a soldier again. First, gather information. Second, find weaknesses. Third, make a plan. He walked around the cell slowly. He touched the walls, feeling for anything unusual. He looked at the corners where the walls met. He studied the ceiling. Everything looked smooth and perfect. Too perfect. A sound made him turn around. Part of the wall became transparent, like a window. On the other side stood 3 creatures that were definitely not human. They were tall and thin, with skin that looked gray and smooth. Their heads were larger than human heads, and their eyes were huge and black. They had no nose, just 2 small holes. Their mouths were small slits. They wore tight suits that looked like they were made of dark silver material. One of the creatures stepped closer to the transparent wall. It made sounds that were not like any language Taeho knew. The sounds were clicks and whistles and strange hums. Taeho stared at them. The creatures stared back. He realized something important. These aliens had taken him from Earth. They probably took other humans too. But they did not seem afraid of him at all. They looked at him the way scientists look at a bug under a microscope. That was their first mistake. The creature that seemed to be in charge made more clicking sounds. A small panel appeared in the wall next to Taeho. A tray slid out with something that looked like food. It was gray paste in a small container. Taeho looked at the food, then back at the aliens. He did not touch it. Instead, he sat down on the floor and closed his eyes, pretending to be scared or in shock. The aliens watched him for a few more minutes. Then the wall became solid white again. He was alone. But Taeho was not scared, and he was definitely not in shock. He was counting. He was listening. He was learning. He counted the seconds between when he heard footsteps outside his cell. Every 10 minutes, someone walked past. That was a patrol schedule. He listened to the hum of the energy barrier. Sometimes it got a little louder, then a little quieter. It had a rhythm. That meant it was cycling power. He looked at the food tray. The panel that delivered it was a weak point. It had to open and close. That meant there was a mechanism. Where there was a mechanism, there was a way to break it or use it. Taeho opened his eyes and smiled a little. The aliens thought they caught a primitive human. They thought he would be easy to control. They thought wrong. He grew up in a country that was always ready for war. He trained for years to survive in impossible situations. He learned to escape from locked rooms, to fight without weapons, to think 3 steps ahead of his enemy. The aliens did not know any of this. They did not know that humans were survivors. They did not know that humans were hunters. Tai-Ho stood up and walked to the food tray. He picked up the container and looked at it carefully. It was made of some kind of light metal or plastic. He pressed on it gently. It bent a little. Good. He spent the next hour carefully breaking the container into pieces. He worked quietly and slowly. He made a sharp edge from one piece. He made a small hook from another piece. Simple tools, but tools were better than nothing. Then he waited. He sat against the wall and watched the energy barrier. He watched it pulse and hum. He counted the rhythm. 5 seconds strong, 1 second weak. 5 seconds strong, 1 second weak. Outside the cell, the aliens were probably feeling happy. They caught a human specimen. They would study it and learn about Earth. It was routine for them, but Tai-Ho knew something they did not know yet. This was not going to be routine. This was going to be the biggest mistake they ever made. 3 days passed on the alien ship. Tai-Ho learned many things during those 3 days. He learned that the aliens were called Veclor. He learned their schedule. He learned which ones were guards and which ones were scientists. He learned that they thought he was stupid. That last part was very useful. The Veclor brought him different kinds of food every day. They watched him eat through the transparent wall. They made notes on their devices. Sometimes they made the room hotter or colder, watching how he reacted. Sometimes they played loud sounds or bright lights. They were testing him like he was a simple animal. Tai-Ho acted confused and scared. He pretended to be weak, but every time they tested him, he was really testing them. He was learning how their technology worked. He was finding patterns in their behavior. On the 3rd night, one of the Veclor came alone to his cell. This one was smaller than the others and moved differently, less confident, probably young and inexperienced. The alien pressed something on the wall and a screen appeared. It showed pictures of Earth, pictures of cities, animals, and people. The alien made soft clicking sounds. It seemed curious, not cruel. It wanted to communicate. Tai-Ho saw his chance. He pointed at himself and said slowly, Tai-Ho. Then he pointed at the alien and raised his eyebrows. The alien seemed surprised that he tried to talk. It touched its chest and made a sound like killeth. For the next hour, they exchanged simple words. Killeth showed pictures, and Tai-Ho named things: Earth, water, sky, human. The alien seemed excited to be learning. It did not notice that Tai-Ho was also learning. He was learning Veclor words. He was learning how their computer screens worked. He was learning that Keyleth was careless. When Keyleth left, the alien forgot to fully close the food panel. It was only open a crack, maybe 2 centimeters. But that was enough. Tai-Ho waited until the footsteps faded away. Then he moved fast. He took the sharp piece of metal he had made and slid it into the crack. He pushed and twisted carefully. Inside the panel, he could feel mechanisms moving. He had fixed machines before in the military. Technology was technology, even alien technology. Something clicked. The panel opened wider. Tai-Ho reached inside and felt around. His fingers found wires and small components. He could not see what he was doing, but he did not need to. He pulled on different wires gently, feeling which ones carried power. He found one that made the energy barrier flicker when he touched it. Perfect. He worked for 2 more hours, using his simple tools to rewire the panel's insides. He connected the power wire to the door mechanism. It was messy and dangerous, but it would work. When he was done, he closed the panel most of the way and sat back. Now he just needed to wait for the right moment. The next morning, Keyleth came back with another Veclor. This one was taller and had marks on its suit that probably meant it was in charge. The leader Veclor, whose name Teho heard as Brelox, looked at him with its huge black eyes. Brelox made clicking sounds to Keyleth. The younger alien nodded and pressed buttons on a device. The wall became transparent again. Both aliens stared at Teho. Then Keyleth did exactly what Teho hoped. The young alien opened the food panel to put in a new tray. The moment the panel opened, Teho's rewiring activated. The energy barrier made a loud buzzing sound and disappeared. Sparks flew from the wall. Both aliens jumped back in surprise. Teho did not waste a single second. He ran forward and slammed his shoulder into the transparent wall. Without the energy barrier holding it, the wall was just plastic. It cracked under his weight. The Veclor were not fighters. They stumbled backward, making loud alarm sounds with their mouths. Teho grabbed Keyleth's device and pushed both aliens aside. They fell easily. Their low-gravity planet made them weak and light. Alarms started blaring throughout the ship. Red lights flashed in the corridors. Teho ran, choosing directions randomly. He needed to move fast and create chaos. The ship's corridors were narrow and curved. Everything was white and clean. Doors lined the walls. Teho tried several doors until he found one that opened. Inside was a room full of equipment and screens. He grabbed Keyleth's device and looked at it. The screen showed Veclor writing that he could not read, but there were also symbols and diagrams. He pressed different buttons, watching what happened. One button made a loud hissing sound. Suddenly, the temperature in the corridor outside started to drop. Another button made the lights flicker. A third button made gravity feel lighter. Teho smiled. This was an environmental control panel. He pressed more buttons, making the ship's systems go crazy. Hot and cold, gravity high and low, lights on and off. The Veclor were built for stable, controlled environments. This would hurt them more than it hurt him. He heard footsteps coming fast. 3 Veclor guards ran around the corner. They carried weapons that looked like silver rods. One of them pointed a rod at Teho and activated it. A bolt of blue energy shot out. Teho dropped and rolled. The energy hit the wall behind him, leaving a black burn mark. He grabbed a chair and threw it at the guards. In the low gravity, the chair flew fast and hard. It hit one guard and knocked it down. The other guards looked scared. They did not expect him to fight back. They fired their weapons wildly. Teho used this. He ran at them instead of away. They panicked. In close combat, their long energy rods were useless. Teho grabbed one rod and twisted it from the guard's weak grip. He did not know how to fire it properly, so he just swung it like a club. It worked. The guards went down. Now he had a weapon. He heard more footsteps, many more. The whole crew was coming. Teho looked around and saw a vent in the ceiling. He jumped and pulled himself up into it. The space was tight, but he could crawl. From inside the ventilation system, he could move around the ship without being seen. He could hear the Veclor below, shouting and searching. They sounded afraid. Good. Fear was a weapon, too. Teho crawled through the vents, mapping the ship in his mind. He found the engine room by following the heat. He found the control room by following the voices. He found the communication room by following the electronic sounds. Every few hours, he would drop down from a vent in an empty room. He would sabotage something small, cut a wire, break a screen, jam a door. Nothing that would destroy the ship, but enough to make them paranoid. The Veclor crew was falling apart. They were scared of the dark vents. They jumped at every sound. They argued with each other about what to do. Captain Brelox sent out a message to the Veclor Empire. Teho heard it from the vents above the communication room. The captain's voice sounded desperate. "We have a situation. The human specimen has escaped. It is highly dangerous. We need immediate assistance." Teho understood enough Veclor words now to know what that meant. They were calling for help. That was fine. Let them call. He was not done yet. On the 5th day, Teho had complete control of the ship, even though the Veclor did not know it yet. He moved through the vents like a ghost. He watched them. He learned their language better. He understood their fear. The crew was breaking down. They stopped sleeping well. They made mistakes. 2 guards started fighting with each other over who should check a dark corridor first. Scientists refused to work alone. Captain Brilox looked tired and frustrated. Teho decided it was time to increase the pressure. He found a computer terminal in an empty storage room. Using what he learned from watching Killith, he accessed the ship's announcement system. He spoke in broken Veclor, using the words he had learned. "You take wrong human. You make big mistake. Go home now." His voice echoed through every corridor and room. The reaction was immediate. Veclor crew members screamed. Some ran to their quarters and locked the doors. Others gathered together in groups, holding their weapons and shaking. Captain Brilox tried to calm them down, but his voice had no confidence anymore. That night, Teho was crawling through a vent near the sleeping quarters when he heard something strange. Someone was crying. But it did not sound like a Veclor. It sounded human. He stopped and listened carefully. Yes, definitely human. A woman's voice, speaking Korean. "Please let this end. I just want to go home." Teho's heart beat faster. Another human was on this ship. He followed the sound until he found a vent opening above a small room. He looked down carefully. Inside was a young woman, maybe in her mid-20s. She had long black hair and wore a gray uniform similar to the Veclor crew. She sat on a bed, holding her knees and crying quietly. Teho made a soft sound. "Hey." The woman's head snapped up. She looked at the vent with wide eyes full of shock and fear. "Don't be afraid," Teho whispered in Korean. "I'm human too. My name is Teho." The woman stared at him for a long moment. Then tears started flowing down her face again, but this time they looked different, like relief. "I'm Hana," she whispered back. "I thought I was the only one." "How long have you been here?" 20 years. They took me when I was 6 years old from Busan." Teho felt anger burn in his chest. 20 years. This woman spent 20 years as a prisoner. "Can you get out of your room?" Hana nodded. "I'm not locked in. I work for them as a translator. They raised me here. They think I'm loyal." "Are you loyal?" Hana's eyes went hard. "I hate them. Every single day I hate them, but I had no way to escape. Where would I go? I'm on a ship in space." "Not anymore," Teho said. "Now you have help. Can you meet me somewhere private?" Hana thought for a moment. "The cargo bay. Level 3. In 1 hour everyone will be at the evening meal. I can make an excuse." "Good. I'll be there." 1 hour later, Teho dropped down from a vent in the cargo bay. The room was large and filled with boxes and equipment. Hana was waiting, looking nervous but determined. They talked quickly. Hana explained the ship's layout. She knew where everything was. The armory, the bridge, the escape pods, the engine controls. She had spent 20 years learning every detail of the ship because she had nothing else to do. Teho explained his plan. Take control of the ship completely. Force the Veclor to return them to Earth. If they refused, make them regret it. "The armory is guarded," Hana said. 2 soldiers, always." "Not a problem. I can handle 2. "Teho, you don't understand. They will call for help. A battleship will come. The Veclor Empire is huge. We can't fight them all." "We don't need to fight them all. We just need to scare them enough." Teho smiled. "And I have some ideas about that." Together they made a detailed plan. Hana would help from the inside, acting like nothing was wrong. She would sabotage systems that Teho could not reach. She would feed him information about crew movements. Over the next 2 days, they worked together. Hana disabled the backup communication system. Taeho cut power to the weapons systems. Hana convinced one of the engineers that the environmental controls were malfunctioning. Taeho made sure they actually did malfunction. The ship became a nightmare for the Veclor crew. Nothing worked right. Strange sounds came from the walls. Lights failed at random times. Doors locked and unlocked by themselves. Captain Brillox called a meeting of all senior crew. Taeho listened from the vents above the meeting room. "We need to make a decision," Brillox said, his voice tired. "Do we try to contain the human, or do we evacuate to escape pods and destroy the ship?" First Officer Dulvar slammed his hand on the table. "We should have killed it on the first day. Now look at us. We're afraid of one primitive creature." "It's not primitive," Keyleth said quietly. "I've been studying it. Humans evolved as hunters, as survivors. They're built for violence and adaptation. We made a mistake taking one." "Then we fix the mistake," Dulvar said. "We vent the atmosphere in all corridors. The human needs air. It will die." "No," Brillox said. "The Empire wants the specimen alive for study. If we kill it, we fail our mission." "Our mission is already failed," Dulvar shouted. The argument continued. Taeho heard enough. He crawled back through the vents to the cargo bay where Hana was waiting. "They're falling apart," he told her. "Good. What's next?" "Next, we take the armory. Tonight." That night, Taeho approached the armory from the vents above. The two guards stood outside the door, nervous and alert. One held an energy weapon. The other kept looking over his shoulder at every sound. Taeho removed the vent cover silently. He waited until both guards were facing away from him. Then he dropped down between them. The fight lasted less than 10 seconds. The Veclor were not trained for combat. They were scientists and explorers. Taeho was a soldier. He took their weapons and tied them up with their own equipment belts. Hana arrived a moment later with an access card she stole from an engineer. She opened the armory door. Inside were rows of weapons: energy rifles, stun devices, some kind of blade weapons, and what looked like grenades. Taeho took one of everything, testing them carefully. "Can you use these?" he asked Hana. She picked up an energy rifle and checked it expertly. "They taught me. For self-defense, they said." Taeho nodded with approval. "Good, because now we're going to take the bridge." They loaded up with weapons and headed for the ship's control center. The time for hiding in vents was over. Now it was time to take back control. When they reached the bridge, Taeho did not hesitate. He blasted the door controls and kicked it open. 6 Veclor crew members looked up in shock. Captain Brillox stood up from his chair. "Please, let us talk about this." Taeho pointed his rifle at the captain. "We're done talking. Now you listen." The Veclor crew on the bridge did not move. They stared at Taeho and Hana with their large black eyes. Fear was clear on their alien faces. Captain Brillox raised his hands slowly, showing he had no weapon. "Lock them in the conference room," Taeho told Hana. She moved quickly, gesturing with her rifle. The crew members walked slowly into a side room. Hana sealed the door behind them. Taeho sat in the captain's chair and looked at the control panels. Everything was labeled in Veclor writing, but Hana stood beside him. "This is navigation," she said, pointing. "This is communications. This is weapons control. Show me how to get to Earth." Hana's hands moved over the controls. A star map appeared on the main screen. She pointed to a small yellow dot. "That's our sun. We're about 6 light years away. At maximum speed, we can be there in 3 weeks. Set the course." "Taeho, wait. We need to think about this. When we took the bridge, the automatic distress signal went out. The Empire knows something is wrong. They're probably sending ships right now." As if her words made it happen, an alarm started beeping. Hana checked a screen. Her face went pale. "A battle cruiser just appeared on sensors. They're hailing us." Taeho thought quickly. "Can we run?" "No, they're faster than us. Bigger, much more heavily armed." Then we talked to them, opened the channel. The main screen changed. A Veclor appeared, wearing a uniform covered in medals and symbols. This one looked older and much more serious than Captain Brylock's. When it spoke, its voice was deep and angry. Hana translated. "That's Commander Velcor. He's demanding we surrender immediately and release the crew." Taeho stood up so the camera could see him clearly. "Tell him no." Hana's eyes went wide. "Taeho, that's suicide. Just translate." Hana spoke in Veclor. Commander Velcor's eyes narrowed when he saw Taeho. He made clicking sounds that got faster and louder. "He says we're being foolish," Hana translated. "He says the scout ship has no chance against a battlecruiser. He says we should surrender while he's still willing to let us live." Taeho smiled. "Tell him I have a better idea. Tell him I've rigged the scout ship's reactor to explode. If he attacks, I'll blow up this ship and take a big chunk of his battlecruiser with it when I ram him." Hana hesitated. "Did you really rig the reactor?" "No, but he doesn't know that." Hana translated. Commander Velcor stopped talking. He stared at Taeho for a long moment. Then he spoke again, slower this time. "He's asking what you want," Hana said. "I want safe passage to Earth. For both of us. For any other humans you've taken. And I want your empire to promise to never come to Earth again." More clicking sounds from Velcor, angrier now. "He says the empire doesn't negotiate with primitive species. He says he'll disable our engines and board us by force. Tell him to try it." The screen went dark. On the sensors, the battlecruiser started moving toward them. Hana looked terrified. "They're charging weapons. Taeho, what do we do?" Taeho had spent the last week studying the scout ship. He knew it was not built for fighting. It was built for science and exploration, but every ship had weapons, even if they were small. "Take the weapon station," he ordered Hana. "Target their sensor array. We can't hurt a battlecruiser with these weapons." "We don't need to hurt them. We need to annoy them. Fire." Hana pressed the controls. Small energy bolts shot from the scout ship and hit the battlecruiser's front section. They did almost no damage, but they did make Commander Velcor angry. The battlecruiser fired back. A massive energy beam hit their shields. The whole ship shook. Alarms blared. The lights flickered. "Shields at 60%, Hana said, her voice shaking. Taeho made a decision. He grabbed the navigation controls and pushed the engines to maximum. The scout ship shot forward, heading straight at the battlecruiser. "What are you doing?" Hana screamed. "Making him believe I'll really do it." The distance between the ships closed rapidly. 1 kilometer, 500 meters, 200 meters. On the screen, Taeho could see the battlecruiser's bridge. He could imagine Velcor's face. At the last possible second, Taeho pulled the ship hard to the side. They passed so close to the battlecruiser that they scraped its shields. Then Taeho fired their weapons at point-blank range, hitting the battlecruiser's communication array. The battlecruiser's communications went dark. They could not send or receive messages anymore. "Now run!" Taeho pushed the engines even harder. The scout ship accelerated away. The battlecruiser tried to follow, but something was wrong with it. Sparks flew from its side. The close pass had damaged something important. "They're slowing down," Hana said, watching the sensors. "We're getting away." But Taeho was not done yet. While Hana piloted the ship, he went to the communications station. Captain Brylox had sent out distress signals. That meant Taeho could access the Veclor military network. He worked quickly, using everything he learned from watching the Veclor crew. He found the ship's recording system. Everything that happened on the ship was recorded. His capture, his escape, his takeover of the ship, the confrontation with the battlecruiser. He took all of it and prepared a message. Hana helped him write it in Veclor language. "To the Veclor Empire, you took one unarmed human from Earth. You thought we were weak. You thought we were primitive. You thought wrong. I defeated your crew. I took your ship. I damaged your battle cruiser, and I am just one human. Earth has 8 billion of us. We survived ice ages. We survived diseases. We survived thousands of years of war. We are hunters. We are survivors. We do not give up. We do not surrender. This is your only warning. Never come to Earth again. If you do, you will regret it. He attached all the video recordings to the message. Then he broadcast it across every Veclor military frequency he could find. Done, he said. Let's go home. For 3 days, they flew toward Earth. The Veclor Empire did not follow them. Hana monitored the communications. She heard chatter between Veclor ships. They were talking about the message. Some did not believe it. Others were studying the recordings, analyzing human capabilities. On the 4th day, something appeared on their sensors. A whole fleet of Veclor ships heading their way. Hana looked at Tai-Ho with fear. They're coming. At least 20 ships. Tai-Ho checked the sensors more carefully. Then he smiled. Look at their course. They're not coming toward us. They're going around us. They're avoiding Earth's solar system completely. He was right. The fleet changed its path to stay far away from them, as if Earth was now marked as dangerous territory. Hana started laughing. It started as small giggles but grew into full laughter. They're afraid! The whole empire is afraid of us! Tai-Ho laughed too. It felt good. It felt like victory. Set course for Earth, he said. Let's go home. 2 weeks later, the blue and green planet filled the main screen. Earth. Hana stood next to Tai-Ho, staring at it with tears running down her face. I never thought I'd see it again, she whispered. You're home now, Tai-Ho said gently. During the journey, they had talked for hours every day. Hana told him about being taken as a child. She remembered playing in a park in Busan with her mother. Then there was a bright light, and she woke up on the Veclor ship. She cried for weeks. The Veclor were not cruel to her, but they were not kind either. They raised her like an experiment. They taught her their language so she could help them understand humans. They never once asked if she wanted to go home. Tai-Ho told her about his life too, about being a soldier, about the things he had to do that still gave him nightmares, about choosing peace and fishing because he was tired of fighting. They both carried scars, but now they were not alone. As they got closer to Earth, military satellites detected them. Tai-Ho had expected this. He opened communication channels and broadcast in multiple languages. This is Tai-Ho, a citizen of South Korea. I am returning to Earth in an alien spacecraft with another human survivor. We are not hostile. We need permission to land. The response was immediate. Fighter jets scrambled. Military bases went on alert. But Tai-Ho stayed calm. He sent all the data he had, pictures of the Veclor, recordings from the ship, everything. A voice came through the radio in Korean. This is the Republic of Korea Air Force. Identify yourself and your intentions. My name is Tai-Ho. I was a Special Forces operator, service number 7429. I was abducted by aliens while fishing near my village. I am bringing back their ship and another human they took 20 years ago. We want to come home. There was a long pause. Then, confirmed. We have your service record. Proceed to these coordinates. Military escort will guide you down. 6 fighter jets appeared around the scout ship. They did not attack. They just guided the ship down through the atmosphere. Tai-Ho had never been so happy to see military aircraft in his life. He landed the ship in a military base near Seoul. The moment they touched down, hundreds of soldiers surrounded the ship. Tanks and weapons pointed at them from every direction. They're afraid, Hana said nervously. Good. They should be careful. But they'll calm down once we talk to them. Tai-Ho and Hana walked out of the ship with their hands raised. Officers immediately rushed forward and took them to a secure building. For 3 days, they answered questions. Military intelligence, government officials, scientists. Everyone wanted to know everything. Tai-Ho told them the truth. He explained about the Veclor Empire, about their technology, about how he escaped and took control of the ship. He gave them access to everything on the ship's computers. He warned them that Earth needed to prepare. The Veclor would not come back soon, but there were other alien species out there. "We got lucky," Taeho told a room full of generals. "They underestimated us. Next time we might not be so lucky. We need defenses. We need to be ready." The generals listened. They took notes. They started making plans. While the military questioned Taeho, social workers helped Hana. They found her family. Her mother was still alive, living in Busan. She had never stopped looking for her daughter. 20 years of searching, 20 years of hoping. Taeho was there when they reunited. Hana's mother was older now, with gray hair and tired eyes. But when she saw Hana, those eyes filled with life again. They held each other and cried. They cried for hours. "Thank you," Hana's mother said to Taeho, bowing deeply. "Thank you for bringing my daughter home." "She saved herself," Taeho said. "I just helped." After a month, the government finally let Taeho go back to his village. They gave him a medal. They called him a hero. They offered him money and a job as a military consultant. He said no to most of it. He just wanted to go fishing again. But things were different now. News reporters came to his village. People wanted interviews. They wanted him to write books and give speeches. Taeho refused all of it. He fixed up his boat and went back to the sea. Except now, when he looked at the stars at night, he knew what was out there. And he knew that Earth was preparing. The governments of the world worked together for the first time in history. They built new weapons based on Veclor technology. They created a space defense system. They trained new soldiers for a war that might come. Taeho helped sometimes. He trained special teams in alien combat scenarios. He taught them what he learned, how to think differently, how to turn weaknesses into strengths, how to never give up. Hana helped, too. She worked as a translator and advisor. She knew more about alien technology and culture than anyone on Earth. She became important to the new space defense program. 5 years passed. Earth changed. Humanity was no longer looking only at itself. Now it looked up at the stars, with both wonder and caution. Taeho was on his boat one evening when Hana visited. She came to the village often. She and Taeho had become close friends. Family, almost. "The new defense satellites are working," she told him, sitting on his boat. "We can detect any ship that comes near Earth now." "Good," Taeho said, pulling up his fishing net. "They found something else, too. Veclor warning beacons, placed around our solar system. They're broadcasting in multiple alien languages. Danger, hostile species, do not approach." Taeho smiled. "They're still afraid. Not just the Veclor. We intercepted communications from other species. They're all talking about us, about the humans who fought back. Some think we're dangerous, some think we're fascinating, but they all agree on one thing." "What's that?" "They're not coming here without being invited." They sat in comfortable silence, watching the sun set. The sky turned orange and purple. Stars started to appear. "Do you think we'll ever go out there?" Hana asked. "To the stars?" "Maybe someday," Taeho said. "When we're ready. But this time we'll go on our own terms, as equals, not victims." A shooting star crossed the sky. Except Taeho knew it was not a star. It was a probe, one of many that now watched over Earth. "You did this," Hana said softly. "You changed everything. One man against an empire." "I just wanted to go home," Taeho said. "And I wanted to make sure they could never do to anyone else what they did to you. They won't. Because of you, they're too afraid." Taeho pulled his jacket tighter against the evening wind. Somewhere far above, alien ships were changing their routes to avoid Earth. Somewhere in the galaxy, the Veclor Empire was telling the story of the human who defeated them. Somewhere, other species were learning a lesson. Never underestimate humanity. Never assume we are weak because our technology is simple. Never think we will give up or give in. We are survivors. We are fighters. We are stubborn and clever and impossible to predict. Taeho did not think of himself as a hero. He was just a fisherman who wanted peace. But sometimes to achieve peace, you have to be willing to fight. He looked at the stars one more time, then started his boat's engine. "Come on," he said to Hana. "I'll take you back to shore. It's getting cold." As they headed back to the village, Taeho thought about the future. Earth was safer now. Humanity was united in a way it never was before. And somewhere out there, aliens were learning to respect the small blue planet and its stubborn, dangerous inhabitants. He smiled to himself. The Veclor made a mistake when they abducted a human. They learned that mistake the hard way, and they would never forget it.